In our last financial update, I said that I would do a follow-up video where I shared my thoughts on a recent video that was created here on YouTube comparing Dave Ramsey's baby steps to our quote-unquote slow pay method. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Hi, I'm Tasha with One Big Happy Life, where we help you find balance, build wealth, and live happy. Everything that you need to create the life that you want. So a few weeks ago, I was on Instagram and I got a notification. And when I followed the notification, I discovered a new Instagram account. And that account was Urban Finance. And the Instagram post talked about or referred to a video that Urban Finance had just done comparing our quote-unquote slow pay method to Dave Ramsey's baby steps. Now, I love a good financial commentary and comparison. We've done quite a few here on One Big Happy Life. So I went and checked out the video, and when I did, well, I found quite a few problematic statements, and that's what made me decide to go ahead and do this video in response, which is something that I don't think we've actually ever done. So woo, for first times in business. So before I get into the 4 points that I want to make about that video, the first thing that I want to do is just talk a little bit about my credentials, because more and more I'm starting to realize that it's really important that people understand where they are getting their financial information from and what makes the person qualified to talk about personal finance. So if you don't know, for the past 9 years, I've been working in the banking and finance industry as a banking and finance attorney at the highest levels in this country. I've worked for the Department of Housing and Urban Development, writing the first agency determination to charge an LGBT case under the Fair Housing Act. I've been in charge of a 5-state region here in the United States, charged again with overseeing enforcement of the Fair Housing Act and any fair lending cases that came under it. I've worked in private practice for some of the largest banks here in the United States, and I've also worked at both the FDIC and the CFPB, most recently the CFPB as policy counsel, writing reports to Congress on consumer finance, and also writing bank regulatory policy that's currently being followed by every single bank here in the United States. So that's a little bit about my financial background. I've dedicated almost 2 decades of my life to consumer finance as a banking and finance attorney, and then also working in the financial aid office of Virginia Commonwealth University. So when I give you financial information, it's not as a YouTuber or as a financial enthusiast or as a self-proclaimed financial coach. It's actually because I've been doing this work at the highest level in this country, and I've devoted my life to this work. So I just want to give you a little bit of a background before we dive into what I'm going to call misleading statements. So I've got 4 misleading statements from that video, and I'll link to the video down below so you can check it out. The other thing I will say is that I actually did a 40-minute long commentary video inside of Wealth Builder Society. It was a live video. I went step by step and pointed out all of the inaccuracies in the video for our members inside of Wealth Builder Society. So this is just kind of a snippet, like the biggest tip of the iceberg issues that cropped up that were misleading in the video that I feel like we really need to clarify that these things actually aren't quite accurate. So misleading statement number 1, that you can and should compare financial plans without actually talking about the pros and cons of each or crunching any kind of numbers. So if you watch the video is supposed to be a comparison of 2 options of repaying debt. This is a financial decision. So at the very least, if you want to objectively compare 2 financial plans, you can crunch the numbers to say, well, this will leave you in this financial position and this will leave you in this financial position. Or you can go with a pro-con, where you talk about, well, here are the benefits and here are the drawbacks, and here are the benefits and here are the drawbacks. And frankly, Urban Finance didn't make much of an effort to do that, really none at all. Because here's the thing, we have done at least 10 videos talking about paying off, debt payoff, and how to create a debt payoff plan. I'm going to list them off here. I've got the list right in front of me. How to pay off debt without the stress. Should you invest or pay off debt? How to pay off debt fast in 7 easy steps. Financial freedom versus being debt free, which is better? How to pay off debt fast on your financial journey. Pay off debt fast, does it always make sense? Saving versus paying off debt parts 1 and 2. How to pay off student loan debt. And of course, the why we don't follow the Dave Ramsey baby steps video. In any and all of those videos, you will see that we go over the pros and cons and give you lots of information to support why we say to do one thing or another. And we often give you also financial calculations where we show, well, if you do this, this is how much money you would have. And if you do this, this is how much money you have. And by the way, this is how much money you would have every year over the course of, say, 10 years, 20 years, as in the case with the Dave Ramsey baby step video. And the reason why we do that is because we believe that giving you the best possible information will allow you to make solid financial decisions. So it's never going to be just because we say so. So be very cautious if you're reading an article, watching a video where they're saying that one thing is better than another without providing you any kind of support, because they said so or because they think so should not be a good enough reason for you to take that information and use it in your financial life, because that decision is going to impact you for decades. It will impact the generations that come after you if you have kids. So that's misleading statement number 1. Misleading statement number 2 is that our debt payoff method is the slow pay method. And again, unfortunately, Urban Finance didn't actually make any effort to watch any of our YouTube videos where we talk about how to create a debt payoff plan. Because if he did, he would always see us talk about the fact that it's not just about slow paying your debt, but actually choosing the most financially beneficial outcome. So optimizing your debt payoff plan, optimizing your finances generally, because at any given point in time, we're all balancing really 3 competing financial goals: building our financial stability, building our financial independence, and also enjoying our one and only precious life. We're trying to do all 3 of those things. And debt payoff is just one lever that we can pull, especially to hit our 2 financial goals, which is building financial stability and building financial independence. So what we teach is to fully understand how debt works so that you can create a debt payoff plan that allows you to build your financial security, build financial independence, both optimizing as much as possible while also, yes, using some of your money to enjoy your life. So at no point have we ever said, slow pay everything, or fast pay everything, or fast pay this and then slow pay this, because we don't give those generic rules of thumb. What we teach you how to do is how to actually understand financial strategies, personal finance, the legal landscape around debt and finances, and then so that you can make empowered financial decisions. So no, our method is absolutely not the slow pay method, although that sounds really catchy. But when do we recommend that you consider slow paying debt? The answer is when it is the most financially optimal choice for you to make so that you can build wealth faster. So why are we slow paying all of our debts right now? Because they're all below 3%. And so, or functionally equivalent to below 3%, because student loans are a little bit different, but that's a different video. So we say when you slow pay low interest debt and you invest instead, you will build wealth faster. This is just a mathematical fact. So if you really had to say that our method was at all a slow pay method, which it's not, it's slow pay, low interest debt so that you can invest and build wealth. Because remember, your ultimate goal is to build your financial stability, which you do when you have more liquid assets, and build your financial independence, which you do, again, when you have income producing assets, aka money that you've invested that's going to give you a return. Misleading statement number 3, and this is probably the worst of all of the misleading statements, is that our method only works because we make a lot of money. So of course, Urban Finance spent some time speculating as to how much money we make. And we have never at all tried to hide the ball about the fact that Joseph and I are both attorneys. Even when I was working full-time, we both each made six-figure incomes in our day job. Now I run One Big Happy Life. One Big Happy Life is a multiple six-figure business. I pay myself a six-figure salary. So we are still a multiple six-figure household. Have never tried to hide that at all because we do believe that it's really important that people understand the circumstances surrounding given financial situations. However, as I said in the last point, the way that we teach personal finance, it's about financial optimization. So it is about doing the thing that helps you build wealth faster while also mitigating risk because you're building financial stability. And so the fact is, if you make even less money, that means that you have less money to waste. You can't afford to be following financial strategies that aren't efficient, doing things like paying off your smallest debt instead of paying off your highest interest debt to play like games with yourself, because that's costing you money. So it's actually not true that our method only works if you make a lot of money. And in fact, if you don't make a lot of money, you need to focus on financial optimization as much as possible because you just frankly don't have as much wiggle room to make mistakes. So that is also not true. And again, we've crunched these numbers in other videos, so I'm not going to do it here. And maybe we'll do a video where we crunch numbers showing, a $50,000 a year salary so you can so that you can see what that looks like. But really ask yourself, why would it make sense if you make less money for you to do things that will build your wealth slower? Like that, it really doesn't make sense. So that's an unfortunate myth that keeps persisting, that if you don't make a lot of money, the thing that you should do is rapid debt payoff. When the truth is, the thing that you should do, if you are in a position where you can't meet your financial obligations, the thing that you should do is reach out to a bankruptcy attorney and see what your options are, because we've created bankruptcy laws for a reason. It's because we as a society want those protections there for people who find themselves in unfortunate financial circumstances. And there is no shame in that. Reach out to a bankruptcy attorney, see what your options are, and look for ways to grow your income so you can grow that gap and have some wiggle room. And even still, I would say make sure you're building your financial safety net by saving some of that money for yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you lose your job, there are workouts that you can work around with your debt. Again, banking and finance attorney. I've seen banks inside and out. I've been deep inside their loss mitigation department, their workout departments, deep inside their policies. I promise you, every single financial institution out there has a support system in place for you if you reach out to them to say that things aren't going well. You have options when it comes to your debt. It is very difficult to find options for keeping a roof over your head or keeping your kids fed if you don't have any money. So again, just talking pure real world actual facts here. Misleading statement number 4 is when Urban Finance compares their net worth to ours and says that they're equivalent. But the truth is that they're actually not. Now, of course, this net worth conversation was a complete aside from the conversation of whether which debt payoff plan was better. But I think that it's really important to talk about this here because he brought it up and because the statement is misleading. Now, we always say that net worth is just a general measurement of your overall financial progress over time. So in our last net worth update, we shared that our net worth is approximately $260,000. And so Urban Finance says, well, their net worth is also the same, except that they are carrying less debt and we are carrying more in assets. Now, what that does is imply that we're in the same financial position just because our net worths are the same. And because, again, he's got this sort of anti-debt narrative running through his whole video, it almost makes us seem like we're worse off because we're carrying more in debt. But when you deep dive and you look closer at the numbers, it's going to show a different story. Because again, net worth is a snapshot of overall financial health, but it doesn't consider asset type or velocity. And here's why those things matter. When you're looking at your net worth, you're actually not separating income producing assets from non-income producing assets. And it doesn't look at your net worth growth over time. Those are completely different calculations, they serve different purposes. When it comes to financial independence, what matters is your income producing assets and not your overall net worth. And so while our net worths may be the same, when you compare our asset types and our income producing assets as well as velocity, you'll see that they're actually not equivalent. So for example, they own a home that's worth approximately $450,000. Our home is worth $630,000. So those are both non-income producing assets, but because we have a larger asset, that assuming that housing prices go up at the same rate, if their house went up 1%, they'd have an extra $4,500. If ours went up an extra 1%, we would have an extra $6,300. What does that mean? Because the size of our asset is bigger, the velocity at which our asset the velocity is the same, but the actual nominal value that our net worth increases over time will be greater because the size of our assets are bigger. And again, we see this if we compare the income producing assets. So we currently have about $475,000 invested in the stock market. They have $160,000. So to catch up, they would need to amass an extra $300,000 just to catch up to us. And so again, to give an example, let's say both of our portfolios increase 10% in a single year. So theirs would increase $15,000. Ours would increase $47,000. So again, the amount of money that our portfolio generates is much higher than theirs, even though our net worth is the same. And then of course we have to take into consideration savings rate, which I don't know how much money they make, but he assumes that we make more than them. So maybe we make more than them. And so it's possible that we're also saving more than them. So the odds of them actually catching up to us right now are kind of low. And that's why we've always said that debt is only one part of the picture. Net worth is only one part of the picture. So comparing two net worths does not mean that you're making an apples to apples comparison. And why that matters, not because our net worth even matters or their net worth even matters, but it's how you think about these numbers and how you approach personal finance and how you approach the personal finance information that you're given and how that information can be unintentionally misleading if the presenter isn't careful. So those are the 4 big misleading statements about that video. I have to be honest and say, I didn't love making this video. I don't love making commentary type videos. I prefer to just be entirely educational. And I typically, on Instagram, I tend to have more commentary because people ask me to comment on things. Inside of Wealth Builder Society, our members will ask us for our thoughts on different articles. And so that's an opportunity for them to learn about how to think about money from us. The last thing I want to say is that, at the end of the day, all of our goals, every single personal finance educator out there, all of our goals, we all have a shared goal, which is to help empower people to make better financial choices. And so not every person's method is going to work well for every single person out there. And so it very well may be that at the end of the day, even though the Dave Ramsey's baby steps are not financially optimized, put you in a precarious financial situation if you really don't grow your emergency fund at the same time as you're paying off debt, it still might be the best choice for you. And I'm not saying that it's not. But what I want for you more than anything else is that you're able to make a fully informed decision. If you want to pay more money in interest, I'm okay with that because you should feel empowered to use your money in the way that is going to best support you in your life. But what I don't want to see is people thinking that that plan is the best because it's the best, or that it's actually the best because it will put you in a better financial situation the whole way through. And the answer is it's not. It's just not a financially optimized plan. So I don't know, we might do another video focusing just on that. We've already done one, which is the Dave Ramsey baby steps video that we did where we did the calculations. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you have questions or thoughts, please feel free to drop them down below and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.